Well, now, of course, we have Schitt's Creek, which recently wrapped up its series in a phenomenal finale. And trust me, series finales are hard, we all know. Joining us today is co-creator, executive producer, and star Daniel Levy and star Annie Murphy. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Daniel, amazing headwear, by the way.
I'm so sorry. The alternative of showing you the state of my hair right now is not worth it for anyone out there.
Trust me, I know the feeling. I
just dressed like Steve Zissou today, so we're feeling
you are
very...
totally the life creek, we will say today.
Exactly.
Now, before we talk about the show and the series finale and what have you, we are going to show a clip, which is actually from the series finale. And all I will say before we see the clip, it is, in my opinion, the second best version of the use of the song "Simply the Best." So take a look.
Okay, can you please stop doing that? You're making me nervous.
I'm sorry, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think you're right.
I know. About what?
Like, I think I'm wearing a wedding dress.
Oh, I know that.
I really wanted to impress you today, and now I feel like I'm ruining your wedding.
I think you're giving yourself a lot of credit. My wedding was already ruined. But for what it's worth, I am continuously impressed by you. Now, can you please walk me down the aisle before people lose interest?
Hey, David. It would be my honor.
Okay.
Hey, I love you.
Simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
Is it me, or do they look like husband and wife? Kind of.
Hang on every word you say. Tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. You're simply the best. You're simply the best.
I mean, we all know where it goes, but that was an amazing scene. And again, I have to say, I mean, Daniel, you co-wrote the finale. Well, you wrote.
I wrote the finale.
You wrote the finale.
Yeah, I mean, we all sort of, there's a team of writers, but yeah.
This scene is in many ways, to me, as a fan of the entire series, which you guys know, it's so emblematic of the relationship between David and Alexis and where they are. And yet there's so much said in so few seconds here. I wanted to know why you thought this scene was something that you guys had to have for the end of the show.
I think it's important in a series finale to really pay your respects to the relationships that have been established in the show, and so much of this last episode was a celebration of how far the family has come. So it felt really important to have a moment between Alexis and David that wasn't just them bickering at each other, which is what most of the episode was. So to sort of, allow them to let their guard down before a really meaningful moment in David's life felt like a really nice little piece of closure for the two of them, and also just a really nice moment that I think is quite honest and real and happens in families. So it was nice to shoot. It was an emotional day on set, and so it led to a certain level of kind of electricity in the air while we were shooting that entire wedding scene.
Annie, the I want to say evolution, and I hope that's not the wrong word to use here, that we've seen of Alexis over the series, but specifically over this final season, has been quite amazing. For you as an actor, what were your feelings going into this finale and going into particularly scenes like this?
I've been so grateful to the writers and Dan and everybody to have written what initially was such a deeply unlikable character. And
I'm putting it very mildly.
It is. I'm being very kind. This is a time we need to be kind. but then to allow her to change and transform and grow and learn so dramatically over the course of 6 seasons. I loved playing season 1 Alexis, but I loved even more playing season 6 Alexis, because there was so much. She still is a selfish, wild child, but she's also kind and loving and smart. And so seeing her leave the show as an independent woman, sorry for saying independent woman, but I loved so much seeing the contrast of the first two-hander that Dan and I had together, which was literally screaming, "You get murdered first," at each other. And then seeing them walk down the aisle together, not in the way it sounds, but just seeing the true, genuine love that has existed between the two of them forever. But now they're okay with acknowledging it.
One of the things that Dan and Annie as well is that happened with Schitt's Creek, which of course immediately was a thing because of the name, and you just wanted to hear people have to say it on television. But was also this thing, and I believe, Daniel, I remember once you and I did a previous panel together, and I think you called it Our Little Show. But this is not a little show. This is now a classic comedy, and I think, particularly with this series finale, only puts the capper on that. And series finales are really hard, as Bob Newhart will tell you. So I wanted to get a sense from you is, what did now, with a bit of time passed since you guys made it and since we all saw it, what is your feeling about the show now? How do you look back at it?
I still see it as a little show, and our budget is nothing compared to the company we keep right now. So we've always been scrappy till the end. And I think starting out, and particularly having our first kind of 4-ish seasons, really existing in almost a cult-like environment where people who knew about it really loved it, but the majority of, widespread audiences were slowly starting to find it. I think when you start out with that kind of, humble beginnings, you never change the way that you see yourself. I think we always will look at this show as just a great 3 months that our cast and crew got to have together in Toronto. And I think in a way, the fact that the success of the show really came in the 5th and 6th seasons, it still hasn't really settled with all of us, because we're just so used to making the show for ourselves and for the kind of passionate fan base, as small as it was or as budding as it was, that really enjoyed it. So I don't really, not to speak on everyone's behalf, but I don't think any of us are kind of walking around thinking like this is a huge show.
Well, you're wrong,
I was,
because it is.
Even in our 6th season, I was still buying clothes on the internet and keeping them in my house until we started. I mean, everything about the show was really kind of guerrilla television making. So I think, the process never changed, which never gave us an inflated sense of importance, because the journey was just as grueling.
Daniel, do you think that maybe that is part of it, though, is because you guys took that kind of guerrilla television or punk rock kind of television approach to it? Do you think that's one of the reasons why? Because I think it is one of the reasons why it felt so immediate and authentic, even as something that's scripted.
Of course. I think when you don't have the pressure of expectation, and you really just, I know that my dad and I, our biggest concern at the end of the day was making a first season of the show that we could be okay with if it didn't go. Meaning, if we aired our first season and people didn't watch it and it got yanked off the air, we would at least have the closure of knowing that we made exactly what we wanted to make. So it was that quest for closure that was really the most important thing for us, telling the story as purely and specifically and sort of comedically, tonally, as specific as we possibly could make it. That was the goal, and that was always the goal. And we were very fortunate that people ended up really responding to what we were making. But these shows that come out that have huge hype and huge expectation, I couldn't really imagine this show being a part of. It's a lot. So I give a lot of credit to the showrunners and television creators out there that are burdened with that kind of expectation, even just from a network standpoint. I think when you have networks throwing $100 million into your show. There is quite frankly a very different expectation in terms of the return on investment. So it's been very nice. It's been very kind of modest in a way. And I think that's really allowed for all of us to focus on what's really important, which is just making good TV. Annie,
clearly the response from many people, and Daniel's humility aside for a moment, the response from you guys have made some very good TV. You know, Alexis has become a kind of icon / anti-icon in many ways. For you, I asked the same question that I asked of Daniel as a way of wrapping this up is, what's your perspective now that some time has passed?
I've had a lot of time on my hands. And I think since the finale aired, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the show because when we actually wrapped, I wouldn't let myself think about it because it felt like a little bit too much to process. But I feel so grateful, and this is going to be a little cheesy, so I'm sorry, but
we love
I feel
cheesy.
Okay, all right, then I'm your girl. I just think that this show has kind of, and I think I'm allowed to say this because I didn't write it, but it's kind of transcended into from like a medium for good entertainment to a show that has touched people on a far more significant and personal level than just purely being entertained by something. And I think that's a rarity. I think, you know, that opportunity comes once in a lifetime. And so to know that this show has gotten people through chemotherapy treatments and allowed people to come out to their family, I don't take that lightly. And so I'm so glad I got to be a part of something based in love and kindness and acceptance, and that it's helping people, you know, get through hard times.
Well, we guys thank you so much for making the show, which helped people get through hard times, good times, and also was just incredibly well-made television. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Annie, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.